with this final session. It's called in the program New Approaches. I think we just decided to rename it Interesting Approaches. Our first speaker, Natalie Schilling-Estes from Georgetown University, Blurring Ethnolinguistic Boundaries, the Use of Others' Varieties in the Sociolinguistic Interview.
I'm really happy to be here and have been invited to be a part of LAVIS 3 because, interestingly, LAVIS 2, 11 years ago, was the first conference that I ever attended. So I'm really happy to be back for re-showing or a revisit. So. For decades, one of the most pressing questions for dialectologists and variationist sociolinguists has been the relation, both current and historic, between African American and white language varieties in the U.S., especially in the American South. Concurrently, there's been much discussion in fields such as anthropology, cultural studies, and social psychology of whether it's possible, accurate, or desirable to study different ethnic and other social groups and their language varieties as isolable, clearly bounded, and relatively homogeneous entities, especially in recent decades as the world's peoples come into increasing contact with one another. However, as we saw in last night's excellent plenary by McQuain, the latter line of inquiry has had little impact on the former. Many variationists and dialectologists continue to anchor their investigations of language and ethnicity on ethnic division as an unquestioned given. One area that does combine an insights of quantitative investigations into group-based patterns and more qualitatively oriented inquiries into the very nature of group and individual identity is research on crossing, that is, the use of language varieties other than one's own. In the present study, I further explore the question of ownership of ethnic varieties by looking at the use of others' varieties in one of the key sources of data for variationists, the sociolinguistic interview. I focus today on two interviews that come from a large-scale study of Robeson County, North Carolina, a tri-ethnic rural area in the southeastern U.S. I use the two interviews because one represents a fairly typical sociolinguistic interview, while the other seems so much like a natural conversation that it's barely an interview at all. As we proceed, we'll consider which types of language features are used in or associated with crossing, including not only segmental, phonological, and morphosyntactic features, but also some lesser studied matters such as lexical items and broader phonological features like intonation and voice quality. We'll also consider the different levels of self-consciousness with which crossing may be employed. As we do so, we'll consider not only the unself-conscious or self-conscious use of others' language varieties, but also the self-conscious use or even hyper-use of one's own native vernacular dialect. Robeson County, North Carolina is a rural area whose residents include approximately 40,000 people who self-identify or are identified as white, 31,000 blacks or African Americans, and 49,000 Native Americans, most of whom are Lumbee Indians. A map showing its location is given in number 1 on your handout. Robeson County has long been characterized by a good bit of tension and even violence among the 3 established ethnic groups. In addition, ethnic classification has been a site of contention as the Lumbee have fought for centuries to be recognized as a separate Native American tribe who are neither white, black, nor mixed, as they are often thought to be. Each group has its own dialect of American English. The county white and black varieties share many similarities with other southeastern white and black dialects respectively, and the black variety in turn shares many similarities with African American vernacular English in general. The Lumbee dialect has a number of features not found in neighboring white and black varieties. For example, the use of I'm in present perfect and some past tense context, as in I'm forgot for I forgot. In addition, it also shares some features with neighboring varieties, but these features often pattern in unique ways. For example, the Lumbee share finite B, as in he be talking all the time, with neighboring blacks. However, the Lumbee can sometimes use the form of an inflectional S, as in he be's talking, and in addition can use it in non-habitual contexts. The sociolinguistic interviews I'm looking at today are part of the sociolinguistic survey of Robeson County conducted by the North Carolina Language and Life Project in the mid to late 1990s. The first interview we'll look at takes place between 2 adult young males, a Lumbee University student, the interviewee, and an African American, the interviewer, who attends the same university. The African American is from a small city on the North Carolina coast, but he has spent considerable time in Robeson County and has family connections there. For the purposes of this paper, I'll call the African American Alex and the Lumbee Lou. Alex and Lou met at the university a couple of years ago, became good friends, and have many friends in common. Overall, the interview is very conversational in tone. In fact, most of it consists of an extended discussion of mutual friends in which the two participate pretty equally. I've examined the interview in some detail in terms of the two participants' stylistic variation with respect to various phonological and morphosyntactic features characteristic of AAVE and Lumbee English, as well as broader semantic and discursive features. The analysis shows that the participants show greater and lesser degrees of linguistic distance from one another during the course of the interview, based on matters such as topic and their positioning with respect to topic, to each other, and to the ethnic group to which each ostensibly belongs. For example, the two are linguistically more similar when talking about common friends than when talking about ethnic relations in Robeson County, which is a more divisive topic. As an alternative way of thinking of Alex and Lou's linguistic convergence with one another as accommodation to one another's speech, we might consider that the two, at least at times, appear to be crossing into one another's ethnic varieties. This is perhaps most evident in the rare instances where they produce morphosyntactic features typically associated with the other's ethnic variety, since patterns of phonological variation are typically more gradient. For example, the Lumbee Lou uses third-person singular S absence, a classic AAVE feature, only 2 times in the entire interview. One case is in seeming echo of Alex's AAVE speech, and you can see this in number 2 on your handout, where you see A for Alex, the African-American, saying, find somebody that nobody else do, and the Lumbee Lou replies, nobody else do better. There are also some more clear-cut cases of crossing in the interview. For example, when the participants use what they perceive to be white speech. And in these cases, they seem to use mostly phonological features to accomplish their crossing. For example, in the excerpt in 3, which I'll play in a second, Alex uses white phonology in quoting a white boy who started to give him some trouble on the first night he moved into the dormitory at the university. Although Alex typically uses high levels of monophthongal I, especially before voice sounds, as in line for line, he tends to use diphthongal I in quoting the white guy Frank. However, he sticks mostly with monophthongal I in quoting himself. So I'll play this for you now. Try.
And I tell you what, the first night we got here, the first night we stayed here, Frank came up to the room, and he said, yo, because we had some guys stay over here last year, and what we're going to do is make a line, a Congo line, your room to my room, you know, and we just start partying all night. And I looked at string eyes. I said, not my room. I said, now, if you want to make a Congo line, that's fine, but it's going to be out here.